Hey guys, today we're going to go over graphing linear equations and then doing the reverse of it of taking a linear graph and finding its equation. So we've looked at two different kinds of linear equations and we've looked at proportional and non-proportional. So let's talk about proportional first. Couple things. Proportional also can be called direct variation. It's going to go through my origin and the equation is going to look like y equals kx. And so you can look at this equation I put up there, y equals 3x. And it's in that form y equals k. That 3 replaces that k. X. There's no plus, there's no minus behind it. Okay, so let's look at a couple things that we need. So we're going to look at our slope, and I'm just going to write an S for I'll write out slope for the first time. Slope. And I want to look at my y-intercept, and I am going to abbreviate y-intercepts. All right, so my slope is that k or that m. We a lot of times call it m because we'll use, in our non-proportionals, we'll use m. And it's going to be 3. Now, I like my slope in fraction form, and we'll look at that in just a minute. So it's going to be 3 over 1. Sorry, that is very sloppy, but we got it. And y-intercept, since there is not a plus or a minus after that, it is just 3x. There's nothing after it. My y-intercept is going to be 0. All right? My starting point is always going to be that y-intercept. So I'm going to go to my y-axis, which is the up and down, the vertical axis, and I'm going to start at 0. So I'm going to go and put a dot. And remember, my dots look really messy on this, so just kind of bear with me. That one's not terrible. And then my slope. So for slope, remember we do rise over run. And so my rise here is a positive 3. If it is positive, I'm going to be going up. If it's negative, I'm going to go down. So I'm going to be going up 3 because it's a positive 3. For my run, if it's a positive 1, I'm going to go to the right. Just think that I'm going towards my positives because it's positive. And if it's a negative, I'm going to go towards my negatives to the left. So I'm going to go up 3. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to run 1. Now, some of you in my class like to do the little loopies, you know what I'm talking about? I suggest not doing them or doing them lightly because it does kind of get messy. So I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1. And I'm going to do this till I can stop. And I just barely out of reach on this one. So I'm going to stop there. But notice my graph is only in one section of the graph. I want my line to fill the entire graph. So that means I'm going to have to go backwards. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say, well, I went down 3 to the left 1 to get this. All I'm doing is the opposite. I went up 3, right 1. So I'm going to go down 3, left 1. So down 3, left 1. And now I'm going to fill in the rest of my graph. 1, 2, 3. And notice this point falls right in line. If I was graphing it somewhere over here, I can see that doesn't fall in line. So down 3 over 1. And I'm going to do this until I have no more space. 1, 2, 3 over 1. And I can't go anymore. From there, I'm going to connect. I'm going to be honest, I have practiced connecting these dots, and no matter how I do it, it looks ugly. So I am going to apologize. Oh, it's not even. Trust me, I realize how incredibly ugly that line is, but I am writing on my computer screen, so it is a little bit challenging. So that's what that graph looks like. Notice my slope was positive, so therefore it goes up. And a little trick that we did in class is we wrote our name on it. So I'm going to write my name on it. My name is Joel. And so you can see that my name went up as I wrote, therefore it's a positive slope. All right, let's look at another one. All right, so I've erased and given us a new equation, y equals negative 2x minus 1. So notice now I have that minus or that plus at the end. So that tells me that it is a non-proportional. It's not going to go through our origin. It's in the form y equals mx plus b. And you can actually fill that in. Y equals mx x. And it's a minus here, but remember I can add a line, change the sign to make this a plus if I wanted to, minus 1. So I have my slope, and I'm just going to label it m because my slope is m. Slope's kind of a big word to write on here. And my y-intercept is the letter b. So my slope here is -2. And just like on the last one, I want my slope to be in a fraction. So I'm going to do -2 over 1. My y-intercept is -1. My starting point is always going to be my y-intercept. So I'm going to go to my y-axis here. And I'm going to go down to -1 and I'm going to put a dot. Yeah. All right, remember this is rise over run. So a -2 rise is going to mean going down. So I'm going to go down 2, and a +1 is still going to take me to the right. Down 2, 1, 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. Ooh. Down 2 over 1. Remember, I want to fill out my graph. All right, so I've done this side. Now I need to do the reverse. The reverse of down is up, and the reverse of right is left. Notice this point does fall in line. Okay, it's going to, ooh, that dot's really special. Up 2 over 1. 2 over 1. I'm sorry there is noises. Again, I'm outside working. That's where I get the best reception in my house. All right, so there we go. There's my graph. So again, I'm going to connect it. I apologize because it's going to be quite special. Well, yeah, it's quite special. Notice it does not go through the origin because it is non-proportional. Now, I do want to point out, well, first of all, let's look at that it's a negative slope. So when I write my name, I can see that I am going down. Okay, so it's a negative slope. Sometimes our slope isn't it's already in fraction form for us. And we're going to look at some of those in just a little bit. So it could be 3/4 or 3 over 2 or all kinds of things. Okay, let's look at doing it the reverse way now. So now you can see that we already have a linear equation. I can see it's linear because it made a straight line. That's the definition of being linear. And we can see that it does not go through the origin. So it is non-proportional. That tells me my equation is going to be y equals mx plus b. Now, if you are watching this video and you are in my math class, then you have this in your journal. And so you definitely can look back at your journal and it can help you through it. All right, so m is our slope and our b is our y-intercept. So our y-intercept is where it crossed that y-axis. So I'm going to go to my y-axis and I can see that it crossed right there. Does everybody see that? So it crossed at 1, 2, 3, 4. So my y-intercept is 4. All right. Now to find my slope, I'm still going to look at my rise and run, but I'm going to look at my points. So I want to find 2 good solid points. Starting at that y-intercept is always a good place to start at. So I'm going to start at this y-intercept and I'm going to label that point. And then I'm going to just follow the line until I see where it crosses through a corner. And it crosses through a corner there. Now I'm going to look at a couple more points just so you can get practice of finding good points. Because I know in my class, some of us were struggling with finding points that went through corners. So I'm just following my line, and when it goes through a corner, I'm marking it. All right, so I'm going to look at my rise. I'm going to start here, and it rose down 2. Now remember, if it goes down, that is a negative. So I'm going to have a rise of -2. So it went down 2 and it went to the right 1. So that's going to be a +1. So that fraction simplifies to -2. So my slope is -2. That makes sense because this graph is going down. This line is going down. So my equation, so I'm going to plug it in, is y equals -2x plus 4. Now, I don't care if you keep your slope as a fraction. If you want to keep it as -2 over 1, in that M spot, that's fine. Just know later down the road, you might have a teacher who is not okay with it. And also, it kind of looks silly after a while to see fractions that aren't simplified. All right, let's look at another example. All right, in the last one we just did, remember it did not go through the origin, so we knew that it was non-proportional and was in the form y equals mx plus b. This one goes through our origin. It goes right through this 0, 0 point. So that tells me that it is proportional, and I'm going to be using the formula y equals kx. Now, several of you have asked me, why do they keep it as k? Why don't they just keep it all as m? Keep my slope as m every time. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe a smarter teacher out there watching this video knows the answer to that. I really don't. It would make life easier probably. But m and k are both slopes, so don't get confused by that. So my slope here is going to be my k, and my y-intercept is really easy on proportional ones, because is there a plus here? If there were a plus here, it would be a plus 0, because that doesn't change my value. So I already know my y-intercept on this has to be a 0. I can double check that by coming over to my y-axis and seeing it crossed at my 0. Very good. So now let's find our slope. So it's always good to start at my y-intercept. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mark that point. Some of you might already be making the note to yourself, hey, wait a second, we have a graph that's going up. Because this graph is going up, I know I'm going to have a positive slope. So let's look. I'm going to follow the line. Doesn't go through a corner, doesn't go through a corner, doesn't go through a corner. Woo! Took a while to go through a corner. That's okay. I like to have more than 2 points sometimes. So I'm going to follow, follow, follow. Went through a corner. Really didn't go through a lot of corners here, but that's okay. All right. So let's look. So I'm going to start with my rise, and I rose 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise is 4. Okay, rose up 4. See that 1, 2, 3, 4. And it went up, so that is a positive. So now I'm going to the right. So 1, 2, 3, ran 3. Now 4/3 is an improper fraction. But in my class, I like keeping it as a fraction. I like keeping it just in its simplest form. And so this is going to be 4/3 x. And we don't need the plus 0. And that's our equation. All right, so just to do a big recap over all of it, we have if it goes through the origin, it is proportional. If it doesn't go through the origin, then it is non-proportional. If it is proportional, it's going to be in the form y equals kx. But if it's non-proportional, it's going to be in the form y equals mx plus b. When graphing, I always start at that y-intercept. Where does it cross that y-axis? And my slope is rise over run, remembering to pay attention to if it's a positive or a negative slope. All right, hope this helped you guys.